In this demonstration, I'd like to show you how to set up a PDA device for data collection with iTree Eco. The PDA option is an older option that's available with version 5 iTree Eco and iTree Streets. And before I get started, the one thing I do want to mention is that the operating system that the device runs is Windows Mobile 5.0 to 6.5. So that's a critical element to keep in mind. There are a number of devices out there that might have Windows CE. That's different, and you will find that that is not compatible with the iTree Eco Streets PDA option. So make sure you're running Windows Mobile 5.0 to 6.5. It will work with some of the older versions of Windows Mobile, but those are the ones that we know for sure. So test that out just to make certain, because you can spend a lot of time trying to work with a device that just isn't entirely compatible and you'll run into problems. So the other thing I want to mention about this is that you first also have to have a project configured. So you have to go through the manual or go through the process of creating a project in either iTree Streets or iTree Eco. So we're going to use the PDA option today. The other thing I wanted to mention is that what I have on my screen is I have a project that's already set up for an Eco inventory, and behind here I have a Pocket PC. It's an old HP device which is connected using Windows Mobile Device Center. So I can see here that this is connected. This is just an emulator, so you can actually see as I move through the process some of the screens that'll change on your device. So after your project's configured, you then have the option to go to the Tools menu, and I'm going to select PDA Utility. So after the PDA utility screen launches, you should see the project that you have configured, and this is the inventory that I have set up for this demonstration. There are a number of tabs here that you can thumb through, and you'll see that sometimes things will be grayed out. Import plot list. That's because I'm not working with a sample project. If I was working with a sample project, it would be important for me to do this selection, because this will take the plots that I've set up for a sample-based project and then set those up so that I could send them over to the PDA when I send over that project configuration. If you wanted to add survey teams, you could do that here also. There are some project options. You can see here these are all grayed out just because most of these don't apply, other than the option for energy for a complete inventory. And then on this tab is the PDA screen. So this is really the screen where you do most of your communications work. And you can see here there's this tab that says check PDA status. So the first thing I'm going to do is select this here, and it tells me that I'm connected. And you can see here that it says that I am missing a couple pieces of software. So it needs this .NET software, and the actual PDA application is not installed. So I'm going to go ahead and select the install button here, and you'll see as this is sending files over, you may get some screens that require you to OK or accept some of the software that's being transferred. Every device is a bit different, so this one doesn't, but yours may actually have something that you have to allow for transferring over. Just gives you a couple confirmation messages. We'll accept those. You want to make sure everything's connected and that you don't have any programs. If you have the other iTree applications on here, just close those all down. This is just a licensing agreement, and then it runs through the process, and this will take a couple seconds. This is something else that I also advise folks to do, is accept the default directory where it wants to install this. You can navigate away from here, but typically what I find is that becomes problematic when you try to launch the application. It does not always find the actual, it's called eco.xml file. So I usually advise folks just to accept the default installation here. And you can see some of the files that we're transferring over very quickly. It now wants to install .NET. You may or may not already have this on your device. I don't have it here, so I'm going to go ahead and select yes. Files are being copied over on the device, so I'll let that finish up. Now that that's complete, we'll select OK, and that process is completed. I will go ahead and close that out. So now if I go back and do another status check, so it's telling me that the .NET software is installed and also the PDA application is installed. So that does not necessarily mean that my project is sent over. So if you were at this point to go over here to the Start button and select Programs and then hit Eco, it'll give you an error because it doesn't have a project configured over there. It just has the application, but it doesn't have a project to open up. And so that's where this message eco.xml file was not found. And it'll generate some more errors here. We'll just let this quit out of here. So we have the application and .NET software, but now we have to send the project configuration over. So down here at the lower right it says send configuration to PDA. And that's what we're going to do now. It's giving us some instructions to make sure the device isn't running eco or streets. So it transfers over two files for eco. One is called ecospecies.xml and the other one is just eco.xml. And those will be on the My Documents folder of the device. Configuration is sent. So now on the device we'll just confirm that by going back to the Start menu, hitting Programs, launching Eco. Once the PDA application finishes launching, you'll see this main screen here. And we'll just go ahead and run through real quickly and add a tree and send it to the desktop. So I'm going to log in here. This one's starting at tree ID number 1. We'll just select team number 1. You can change your date if necessary. Continue. On the PDA device, this is how you actually would use it out in the field with your little stylus. And you can collapse this. Then we can continue on. I'll select trees, add my first tree, land use, and then down here are the tabs that you would move through to get to the other screens. So right now we're on address, we'll just go to details. This is where we'll find information on our tree. I'm not going to explain each one of these, that the manual has more detail on this. I just want to go through the process. So these are just some of the tree parameters for total height, live top, the crown base, crown dimensions, north, south, east, west, percent crown missing, percent dieback, and crown light exposure explained in the manual also. And then we can, if you ever have this and you want to drop this down too, just click on the upper part of there and then you can get back to that part of the menu too. So I'll go over to the stems and this will be where you will actually input in the tree diameter. The building tab is used if you're collecting energy effects. So if a tree is within 60 feet of a space conditioned building, and if the tree is over 20 feet tall, you would collect information and put that in these entry fields here. If you're using the pest tab, that's in this tab here. I didn't have any of those, so I'm just going to go ahead and save this and select done. And that's the one tree that I've collected. I'm going to go ahead and select exit. And if you're backing up your device, which is a very wise thing to do, if you have an SD card, you can use this and it'll actually just save a backup file to your SD card. And we'll exit on out. So now in this case, I'm already connected up to my PDA, but in the field I would have to go back and reinitiate Windows Mobile Device Center to get to this screen again. But since I'm here already, now all I have to do is retrieve the data from the PDA. It transferred over a file and it tells me one tree was retrieved. One thing to keep in mind is when you retrieve a file, it cleans off the PDA, so it doesn't stay there, so there's not a chance of sending over a redundant file. So now if I were to go back and launch the PDA, it would not have that tree on there. So once it's transferred, it's on the desktop, and I can confirm that here by going in and hitting enter or edit, enter or edit data, and I could see the Quercus alba tree here. And if I wanted to fix something or change a dimension, I can access that here, and say my dieback wasn't 8%, say it was a little bit higher, I can update that here. And that's just a quick overview of how you set up the PDA, move data back and forth.